Mhm. Hi, my name is Kathy. My nickname is Casey. Um, Actually, it stands for my initials, KC, but people call me Casey. I'm a believer in Yeshua, the Messiah. In past years, I taught a teen class, a college and career class, home Bible study classes, um, and to some degree, I feel like the students learned and wanted more at the end of the class, which I hope is a good sign of a real teacher. I have no seminary degrees. I have or divinity study certificates or certifications or anything like that. I have simply pursued the Lord and knowledge of him since believing, or as I like to say, since I have bent the knee to him in loyalty. Over the past few years, several friends and acquaintances have asked me, when you're going to hold a Bible study, will you please have a Bible study? And I've been reluctant because I require so much pressure on myself to get my home ready, to get the refreshments ready, to study and get prepared for just the exact thing I think the Lord. It's just a lot of pressure I put on myself. So I haven't done that. And I hope the Lord will forgive me. Back in April, near Easter, my friend Hannah, this is Hannah,
Hey.
put me on a hot plate at a community event. And she looked me straight in the eyes and said, I want to talk to you about something. And I thought, oh, Lord, this is serious. She said, why are you not sharing with me and others information about the Lord that can help us in our understanding him more? Why are you not having Bible studies? And I just looked at her. And then she said, you have to let it out before you go to glory and take a whole lifetime of information with you. You do realize that. She was right. You were right. And it made me ask the Lord for confirmation. And so here I am. This is perfect doing a podcast because I don't have to get my home ready. I don't have to host anybody in my house. I don't have to cook. So this is great. All Hannah's idea. For the next few podcasts, and I plan for them to be bi weekly, I would like to simply ask the listeners to send questions that I can address if I'm able. And we'll answer those in the following post. And Hannah will give you more information about that at the end of this podcast. The task that I believe the Lord has given me to help other believers to have more knowledge of him and be able to draw closer to him, that's what I believe I'm supposed to do. I think that's in the forefront. Um, I don't know everything. I know a thimbleful. But that thimble that I got, I'm convinced and I'm fully persuaded that it's truth and it's good and it's right as far as my human brain can perceive it. In the past 6 years, the Lord brought my daughter, also a believer in Messiah, to a seminary college. She worked there. She went to all the classes with the students, and she was privy to all the professors and the scholars' views and the teachings. And they opened up more information than we get in our churches or even through our own personal Bible studies, maybe. These are men that have studied church history, the early writers, Judaic writers, our roots. And when they brought up these topics, it caused her to question even more. And when she got those questions, then she pursued some of the writers that they suggested we read. And that really eliminated us to questions that we've had throughout our life. Well, why is this in the Bible? Why is that? Why why can't anybody answer that for me? Why can't I ask that in a church setting in Sunday school? Oh, don't ask the hard questions. That's not for us to know. Yes, they are. Some of them are. Some of them are the mysteries of God that we will not know until we put on immortality. And I can't wait for that day, because we're going to know a lot of stuff when we put on immortality, because this flesh is going to be done away with. And the Lord's going to directly feed our spirit. And we're going to understand a lot of things, and we're going to see a lot of things in the heavenly realm and in the realm outside the earth. But until then, I still want to know more. I'll be using biblical and extra biblical texts and writings. Now that's going to scare some of you. I don't want to know nothing but what's in the Bible. Well, people wrote things during Jesus' time. There were writers, believers, writing information. There are hidden manuscripts that has information that coincides with the Bible, that explains a lot of things to us. But we don't have those canonized. They're called non-canonized books, and then some of it's just historical writings. But I like to look at all of it. And if it starts fitting together like a puzzle, then I can understand it better. And then I see the truth, and then I ask the Lord, is this right, Lord? And if he impresses upon me or gives me the unction, yep, this is it, then I got it. Then guess what? I'm a step closer to him. I'm a step closer to understanding him, his ways, what he's about. He's so far higher, so much higher than we are, that it's hard to attain to him. So I want to get as close as I can to him. And I tell him all the time, now when I get there, I know that you're not going to be able to spend a lot of one-on-one time with me, because you got a lot of children. But we're going to be together eternally, right? So at some point, I'm getting an appointment. And I want to touch him. I want him to hold my hand. I want him to hug me. I want to be right next to his light and his glory. And then I'm just going to say, hey, put all that stuff, some of that stuff in me, because I got a lot of questions. He knows your questions. It's okay to question the Lord. It's okay to question the Lord.
It's biblical.
Hannah. It's biblical. If you don't ask questions, you don't get answers. If you don't have answers, you just stay on the milk. And I stayed on the milk for a while. And a lot of churches want you to stay on the milk. They're not ready for you to be on the meat. So they keep you on the milk. But you as an individual believer, you have to go seek a steak. Go get a steak. Go get some hamburger. Go do something. And chew on that for a while. Because you can digest it now. Because you've got your foundation. You've had your milk. You've got your foundation. Now build on it. And that's where we're going to be. I will be happy to share foundational truths, but I'm really going to be more of a meat teacher, sharer. I want to at least share some of the things that he's given me that I think is awesome. And I would like for you to share with me sometimes. Give me something. Give me something you've learned. I call them golden nuggets. I'd love to have some golden nuggets of yours. And I'd love to chew on it, think about it, pray about it. We're going to go get whatever is available out there. I'm going to find it. And in this day and age, we all have access to any information we want at any time. There's a new thing in science. Scientists are using, archaeologists. It's called LIDAR. And I've just learned this because I watched it on TV. And it's a new technical piece of equipment that they can put up in the air, and they can shine it down on an area, into a mountain, on some property, and they can look so many layers down, and sometimes they'll see a whole city buried, or they'll see what's in that mountain. They will see caves. There's so much archaeology and science right now that's being proven, even biblical things that's being proven because of this. So we're in a day and age where we have access to information, science, technical things, and it's constant. So we're going to jump on the train. and we're going to go after the Lord and all the information we can get so we can just love Him and serve Him better, hopefully.
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay, before I start the official series of podcasts, I'd like to give you a little background about myself. I'm to be abased, and the Lord is to be exalted. I'm just an instrument. I'm nothing special. But because He died for me, and because He has anointed me in my life, He has separated me out for task. So that doesn't make me special. That just makes me called. Okay? A few things about me. I'm 68 years old. I know that shocks some of you. I'm a white person, Caucasian. I have strong German descendant bloodline. My mother divorced my dad when I was almost 3 years old, and she married a second husband one day after her divorce from my dad when it was final. I've been married for 50 years to the same man. I have one child, a daughter, and I have 2 grandchildren. I'm my dad's only child. I attended 9 different schools from first grade to my senior year. I've worked a job since I was 15 years old, and I have no higher education other than high school grad. I'm still currently working a full-time job, and I have good health. I wasn't reared in any church in Alabama or anywhere else. Alabama is known as part of the Bible Belt, but I wasn't reared in a church, didn't understand about church, didn't know what it was. I actually didn't even know who Jesus was. So I was almost grown. I have Rh negative blood. Neither of my parents had this type of blood. It has no found origins, and it's possibly Nephilim blood. If you don't know what the Nephilim are, it's not good. We'll talk about that later. Okay, you got the picture now. That's my whole package. My life was watched over and mostly cared for by my maternal grandparents, an uncle, and a praying aunt, or aunt, as some people say it. My paternal grandparents were of German descent and were smart, resourceful people, but they were not very forthcoming with attention, love, and affection. My dad was an only child. My dad was a nice guy. He paid his child support regularly, but he was negligent in a dad's role toward me. He quickly became an alcoholic when my mother divorced him, and he died at 53 with cirrhosis of the liver. My first exposure to church/Jesus. My paternal grandmother was from birth raised in a close-knit family and adhered to the Church of Christ. Everyone in their family, they're Germans. She left her Bible study with all her teaching notes in an old worn-out Bible. She'd written all in it. She taught Sunday school for 53 years, adult classes. And she was pretty solid in pursuing knowledge about the Lord her whole life. She took me to church with her one Sunday, one time. I was 6 or 7. During the service, they passed the communion implements the wine and the bread, and to partake. And everyone was to, like, they said the prayer, and then when they passed the tray, you took the bread and you went ahead and ate it, and you drank the juice, and you put the little juice cup back in the tray and passed it. Well, I didn't know anything about what that was. All I knew was I wanted me a cracker, and I wanted some of that grape juice. When it got past my grandmother's right here, when it got past me, she kind of pushed it over me, and I was trying to get some, and she pinched me. And I looked at her like, what? Why'd you do that? She just went. So I behaved, and we got out of church, and we're walking to the car, and I said, Granny, why'd you pinch me when I tried to get some of that grape juice? She said, because you're not allowed to have that. And I said, well, why not? She said, because you're not qualified to have it. And I said, well, what do I have to do? And she said, well, you'd have to obey the gospel. And I said, well, I'll obey the gospel. Just tell me, because I want some of that grape juice next time. And she said, oh, we'll talk about it later. So that was her opportunity, even though I was 6 or 7, to tell me about Jesus. Give me something. What was church about? Who was it about? I got nothing. Okay, second exposure. My maternal aunt married at 19 years old to a schoolmate whose family was deeply committed and ingrained with the Church of God. This is a Pentecostal denomination. She always loved me, and she always let me know that she loved me. My mother let her name me at birth. She was allowed, I'm pretty sure my mother was not real interested in me, but my aunt was, my uncle was, and my grandparents were. So I had somebody, for sure. She's the only person in my life that told me she prayed for me my whole life. When she would see me, she'd say, I love you, Kathy. I'm praying for you. I did not know what that meant. I thought it must be a good thing. She's praying for me, but I don't know who she's praying to. What is praying? I had no idea. But I thought it must be good. I was at my grandparents' house, her mom and dad's house. One Sunday, she and my cousin, her son, he was about 10, came by and brought us some lunch after church, was just going to come visit. And I was on the swing set outside, and he came and got into the swing next to me, and we're swinging, and he said, hey, guess what? I said, what? He said, something really big happened today. And I said, what? He said, I got saved at church. And I said, well, who was trying to get you? He said, no, not that. I got saved. You know, Jesus. And I got saved, you know, church, Jesus. And I said, I don't know him. Why was he trying to get you? He said, he wasn't trying to get me. I said, well, why? I don't understand. He said, oh, you don't know anything about that? I said, no. He said, well, you can just talk to mom after a while. Well, it's all right. Just talk to mom. So I did not have a clue what he was talking about. I thought Jesus was trying to get him, and somebody saved him. I didn't ask my aunt. It just went in one ear and out the other ear. A couple of months later, she invited me to go to church with them. I got to spend the night with them, and she bought me all new clothes. And I wasn't used to that. I thought that was wonderful. She bought me some little white go-go boots. And we go into the church. Now, my grandmother's church, Church of Christ, was very reserved and quiet, reverent, and you had to do everything just as that was. The Church of God is different. They were playing some pretty loud music. My aunt got up there and played her trumpet during one song, and they were singing loud, and everybody was clapping. Some people was dancing around, some people were marching, some people were falling out in the spirit, and it didn't scare me. A lot of times it scares people, but for some reason it didn't scare me. I thought, hey, this is a great party. I stood up on the bench and I looked at all the people, and I thought, well, that's okay. So she took us out to eat lunch afterwards at a fancy Holiday Inn buffet. I'd never been to one. I'd never been to a buffet. I thought it was fantastic. I'd never seen food on a countertop. You just get what you want. And she asked me what I thought about church. I said, well, I like it. I think I want to go back. She said, okay, I'll get you again another time. My aunt, from time to time in my life, would she'd just put her hands on me. She'd say, come here, Kathy, I want to pray for you. And she'd something. Now, I didn't know what she was saying. One day I had a really bad fever. I was really sick. And I was at my grandmother's house. And my aunt came over to see my grandmother. And she saw me, and I had a pretty bad fever. And she came over to me, and she said, Kathy, honey, you look terrible. You got a fever, and Mama said you're sick. And I said, yes. She said, well, she said, we're going to do such and such, some kind of medicine. She said, and I'm going to pray for you. And I said, okay, well, who are you praying to? What are you going to say? She said, I'm going to talk to Jesus, and I'm going to ask him to heal you. And I thought, there's that name again, Jesus. I said, okay. And I looked around. I didn't see him, but I thought, okay, I'm about 8 at this time. And she broke it down. She was Pentecostal. She had baptized by the Holy Spirit, and she was praying in the Spirit, and she was getting loud, and she was getting forceful, and she meant that prayer. She wasn't playing. A couple of days later, I was over it. I believe the Lord healed me because I was pretty sick. And whatever she did, I liked it. I wasn't scared of it. I didn't shun it. As they say, I embraced it. And whatever it was, it intrigued me, and I never forgot it. When you pray for your children, pray out loud. Makes a difference. Third exposure. While in the 9th grade, I made friends with a guy that kind of wanted to be my boyfriend. He really wanted to be my boyfriend. I was not really interested in having a boyfriend, but he was sweet, and he was nice to me. And he said, I'd like to see if you could go to church with my family sometime. And I said, okay. Well, let me ask my mother. I don't know. I never knew what my mother was going to say. I asked her, and she said, yeah, but they'll have to pick you up and bring you back. And I told him that, so y'all have to pick me up, take me back. He said, okay. So they picked me up. They brought me to church. It was a Baptist church. Now, remember, I've been to Church of Christ, and I went to Church of God, and now I'm at a Baptist church. And the people were very nice. The preacher was very kind and gentle. They had a choir, which I was totally impressed with. All those people singing the same words, and it sounded so pretty. They weren't quite as wild as the Church of God, but I still liked it. They were boisterous when they sang their songs, and they acted like they meant it. And that impressed me. They would pick me up and take me to Sunday school, like youth meetings, anything that was going on that I might want to attend, they would offer to come get me. And they did that for 2 or 3 months. I loved every minute of it. I loved the structure of it. And I needed it at that time in my life to feel safe and secure. I needed that kind of environment because I didn't have it at home. One Sunday morning, I paid close attention to the pastor speaking about Jesus dying on the cross for our sins. I could not understand that. I thought, first of all, where is Jesus? Who is Jesus? And why in the world did he have to die for my sins before I was even born? And why did he have to die for my sins? What are my sins? I had lots of questions. I'm still a very questioning person. But I felt the Spirit of the Lord. I felt something in that congregation. I felt like I'm being wrapped in a warm blanket, like it was safe. It was good. It was a sanctuary. I couldn't understand what he was saying. So the next Sunday, I think, went to Sunday school and had a neat little Sunday school teacher. She was probably 23, 24. And I went to her and I said, look, the pastor says Jesus died for our sins. I don't quite understand that. Could you tell me about that? She said, well, I sure can. You don't know how that all came about? I said, I know nothing. So she was pretty excited that she had fresh ears right here. And she said, come over for a hot dog supper next Saturday. We'll have a youth meeting. You come early and help me get everything ready, and I'm going to tell you about Jesus. I said, great. So that my mother let me go. I went. She set me down. She had her Bible. She went, from Genesis, almost to Revelation. And she told me about the Lord. And it all made sense. But I'm like, we got any proof of this? I mean, am I just supposed to believe it because you're telling me, and because you believe it, maybe I'm supposed to believe it? I don't know. She said, well, it has to come through faith. You feel his Spirit and you believe on him, not just in him, but on him. And I said, okay. So I had not had that experience yet. I said, okay. But it sounded good. I liked it. And I like what she said about Jesus and that he loved me. I was all about somebody loving me. I wanted more concrete information, I guess. And she said, just think about it for a couple of weeks and then we'll talk about it more. I said, okay. The next couple of Sunday services, the pastor was talking again about the cross and the resurrection. And she told me about Jesus being resurrected, but I didn't understand that really. I thought, how did he come back alive? I don't know. But as the preacher spoke, I got this warm, fuzzy feeling, and I thought, there's no reason for me not to believe this. I think I'm going to believe it. So I walked up there by myself, and I told the preacher, the pastor at the altar call, hey, I'm pretty sure I believe what you're saying. He said, you do? I said, yeah, I think so. He said, well, let's pray. So we prayed and we asked the Lord to forgive me for my sins. I believe the whole story. Please come into my life and transform me and allow me to be born of the Spirit. And I remember I felt, it was my first experience of feeling something. I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe goosebumps, something. But I felt something. And that could be actually my birth date. I don't count it as my real birth date because from that point, my little boyfriend and I, we didn't really hang out anymore. I changed schools. I moved away and I had no one encouraging me to go to church or pursue. I had nobody mentoring me, checking on me, or encouraging me to do any further pursuit of the Lord. I was 15. So I still love the Lord. I still believed on him, but I did not grow any. I had no growth. After I prayed that, I said to myself, is there anything more I'm supposed to do here? What else am I supposed to do? I'm just supposed to say it and believe it and it's done. That's it. But I couldn't get anybody to tell me if there was more that's required of me. I didn't waste a lot of time thinking about it because I was 15 and I was all about myself. I had nobody to even look to for an example. I could have pursued my aunt, but I didn't. I started dating someone in my junior year of high school. I did not have marriage or having children on my agenda plan. I had to help raise my 2 half sisters from my mother's second husband, and I decided I didn't want children. That's too much work. So I decided I'm just going to work on going to school, getting higher education, or joining the military and getting out of poverty-minded financial situation that we were always in. I wanted to better myself. However, I'm married 3 months out of high school. I'm 18. My husband's 19. And I'm married to the same man, remember? And it was a good move for me, but it was a hard one also. We both had to grow up together. I married in 1975, and we both have basically the same goals in life. We both work full-time jobs to this day, and we work on our goals and our visions together. So that's a good thing. There's some married couples that can't say that. But we've been able to forge a good life for ourselves, and the Lord has given us the ability to work. I don't ask the Lord, will you give me money? Lord, send me some money. Lord, let me win the lottery. Lord, send me some money. I just need some money. Open up your spiritual bank account and pour me out. You know what I say? Lord, give me the help to pursue work that I may earn money. That's a blessing. That's how I pray. I'm not ever asking. People tend to think that the Father is like Santa Claus and that he's just sitting up there waiting to throw gifts down to us all the time. But if he gives you something, there's a reason. And you got to figure out what it is. He got a reason for everything. Fourth exposure, and this is my big one. We established a place to live on my husband's parents' property. We bought us a mobile home and lived pretty close to them, about maybe a quarter of a mile. On April 19th, 1976, this is my real birthday. My mother-in-law dropped by the house after work and she said, Casey, would you like to go to church with me tonight at my little country? I mean, I could just about see the church from my house. It's a little Methodist church. I haven't been to a Methodist church. She said, we're having revival. I said, what is that? She said, well, it's where you go. People that, go to church there, they come and they invite other people to come and you get revived and refreshed. I said, how? By food? I mean, they're going to feed us? She said, no, by his spirit. I said, I don't know what you're talking about, but I think I want to go. She said, well, it's friends and family night. Come on. Got in the car with her, went to this little church. Pulled up in the parking lot, go in this little country church, maybe 25, 30 people there. Sweetest people in the world. And I thought, well, this is nice. This is sweet. And everybody, well, she introduced me. This is my daughter-in-law. This is Billy's wife, just on and on. And they were very, very kind to me. And they announced the speaker for the service, and his name was Larry Adcock. And Larry Adcock was the manager of WDJC in Birmingham radio station, the only Christian radio station we had for many, many years. And this is before Sirius Radio and all that. And I remember his name because my dad and my mother went to school with him. One of them graduated high school with him. Very nice guy. So I thought, well, that's cool. I have a kind of a connection. He went to school with my parents. Okay, so I start listening. He does his message. The entire message, which was explained so beautifully, simply but beautifully, the gospel of Jesus Christ. He started at the beginning and went to the almost end. There's no end with Jesus. And it clicked with me. It finally answered my questions. I finally, for some reason, it's like the Lord glued it to my spirit. It's like the Lord said, now here it is. Hold on to it. Hold on. All right, chew on it. Swallow it. Think about it. You got it? There it is. And I literally felt warmness come over me. Like, I can't explain it. His spirit was on me. And I thought, I need him so much. I need this and I need him. And I felt loved. And I don't even think we had an altar call. Or they had an altar call. I remember just staring at Mr. Adcock and walking toward him, just not taking my eyes off of him. I thought, if I can just get to him, he will pray with me. He'll make this happen. And he did. He looked at me, he was like this as I walked toward him, and he said, honey, do you want me to pray with you? And I said, yes. He said, how would you like for me to pray for you? I said, I believe what you said, and I want the Lord to come in me, to forgive me, and to be with me. He said, okay, let's do it. He got on his knees, he held my hands, and instead of us bending over, he said, look at me. And I looked at him, he said, say these words and believe them in your heart. And I said the words, and they were simple, but they were powerful. And at that moment, I did feel a transformation in me. The old left and the new came in. I was 19. And from that day moving forward, I've chased the Lord. I pursued him. I didn't have parents that guided me, instructed me. I needed guidance in life. And I was going to look to him for all that. And he has fulfilled everything in me that I ever needed or wanted or desired. He's not the Santa Claus. He's the Father. He's the King of the universe. He's the creator of all things. And I know him and I love him. And I want to be able to share with you in the future some cool things that I've learned about him. Some things some people need. We're all at different levels of learning. I'm not up here with the Bible scholars, I'm sure. There's some people that just became believers last week. So they're not where maybe I am yet. There's always going to be somebody that knows more or less than you. We're all trying to get on the same plane so that we can comprehend the Lord. He's a mystery. He's supernatural. He's supernatural. We're natural. When we lose this flesh, and we all will, then we become supernatural. We become immortalized. And that's for eternity. We're not going to stop living when this flesh dies. And in the Word, it says, we'll know each other as we are known. I'm going to know Hannah. I'm going to say, Hannah, what's up? She said, girl, I've been to Israel today. I've been to the temple. You want to go with me? I'd say, yes, I do. And we're gonna live together. We're gonna know each other. Now, there is one thing that's gonna upset a lot of people, but for some people, it's gonna be good. There won't be anybody married in heaven, not the immortals anyway. We're not gonna be married. I know some of y'all gonna miss your husband. Listen, I'll be fine. I'll go visit Bill every once in a while, but I'll be good not being married. It's cool with me. Now, about the animals and all that, I'm not sure about all that. That's a big controversial topic, and we'll talk about that later, about what I think. What I'm thinking may not be what you're thinking. You may totally disagree with me in the future. You may say, that woman's not right. So I'm not going to share things with you that I'm saying is the downright truth, is the gospel. Don't argue with me. I know it. I'm not that way. I'm still clay. I can be molded. You may convince me different. But at my age, I have learned a few things. And those few things I'm going to share with you in the future. Hannah, would you like to tell them how to contact us, get us some questions? Because this is going to be a question and answer podcast. For now, that's the way I feel. I think the Lord's leading me for us to go in this direction. You'll ask questions or a question, and then Hannah and I will pick out which questions we want to address. And then the next podcast, we will hopefully have answers. If I don't have answers, guess what I'm going to tell you? I don't have the answer. If you're asking me questions and then you want to respond to my answer, that's fine too. They'll come to Hannah. She'll review them. We'll talk about it. I'm not a closed off person. I'm very broad-minded when it comes to the Lord, because He's not an entity you can contain. There are no limits to the Lord, but He does have patterns, and He has plans, and He has commandments. So as long as we stay in that realm, I think we're going to learn a lot, and we're going to share a lot. And I hope to learn from you too.
Mm-hmm. We intend to name the podcast Beyond the Scrolls with KC. And so you should be able to find us on socials using that handle. You can leave questions or comments in pretty much any platform that we have. I'll be monitoring them. And then if you have any private questions that you don't feel comfortable posting publicly, you can leave them in this email right here.
Sounds good.
Okay.
In 2 weeks, I'm going to do a short lesson in 2 weeks. And I don't think we can get live questions, can we?
No.
While I'm speaking. Okay.
Probably not.
So I will do a lesson next week. I'm just going to give you some food for thought. And my topics are going to be about time, timelines, timed events, and also about the name of God. God does not have many names. He does not have many names. You know, people say, well, He's Jehovah Jireh. He's Jehovah Rapha. He's El Shaddai. No, those are not His names. Those are attributes. God's attributes. So we're going to learn about His name and some times, some calendars, some things that we need to know about. If you don't know your times and your calendars when you're studying the Word, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. Okay, I'll see you next week.